how do we get the best out of digital energy? So for me, I think some great use cases there, free energy apps. I also think that actually we're starting to see other marketplaces that have never really been engaged in the energy industry, and it's kind of been left to the energy suppliers. I think other markets are now starting to recognize that they can access energy data, and for varying reasons. One could be for their own obligations, and they need to understand their mortgage book or their customers. They need to understand how they interact with energy. I think the other great use case is actually it's a really powerful way to add another level of engagement to your customer base. One of the things that we've been working on at SMS is using energy insights as a way to engage with businesses and customers. So not just taking that raw data, but actually taking the energy data, providing a lot of insight and machine learning kind of activity that starts to build a picture of hints and tips and events and alerts and something that can proactively start to help consumers and businesses manage their own relationship with energy. Not just understand how much they're spending and what their bill is likely to be, but actually using it to drive some hints and tips and also recommendations. Because if we're in a scenario now where over the next 5-10 years, we're going to have to retrofit an awful lot of buildings, both domestic and non-domestic, the source for that, I think, is twofold. One is engagement with the homeowner or the business owner, but also some real clear digital examples of the impact retrofitting energy solutions such as solar panels, batteries, heat pumps will actually do. So, how can I know with any confidence what the impact of me getting a heat pump or solar panels or batteries installed at my house?
I think that's a really good point, bringing up the energy crisis. There was an Accenture survey probably about 10, 12 years ago, something like that, so quite a way in the past, about what is the relationship of a consumer, whether it's a business or residential, a consumer of energy. What is their relationship with their energy bill? And the results of the survey found that the average end user thought about their bill for 30 seconds a year. And that's basically, is it correct? Am I paying the right number? There was no engagement with energy, no interest or whatsoever. Obviously, that's changed over the last few years with climate change, decarbonisation, net zero. But horrible as it's been, the energy crisis has probably engaged the most consumers, informed, educated the most consumers, obviously, mainly across Europe, specifically in the UK we're talking about now. So the public awareness of energy and energy costs and decarbonisation is exponentially higher than it was maybe just 5 years ago. So we need to take advantage, horrible as it sounds, we need to take advantage of the awareness that's been created through the energy crisis and to build on that education, to build on that service, to provide these new services, as you've described, that uses the data on and the awareness of what's happening across the world in decarbonisation, across the world in climate change, to address climate change, and to drive the change forward. And obviously, the energy sector does what the energy sector does. It generates and distributes energy. But it's going to take a lot more than just the energy sector to embark on this change. And as you said, whether it's financial institutes, whether it's car manufacturers, whether it's heating and cooling manufacturers, whether it's the organizations and marketing services around that entire sector, all those organizations do have to band together now, together with the energy sector, to drive the story forward, to drive the movement forward in reducing energy bills again, hopefully to pre-crisis levels, or maybe below pre-crisis levels, through intelligent use. And in order to intelligently use energy, you need that data, you need those smart meters, you need the availability of that data to make those decisions. Is a heat pump going to work for me? Are solar panels going to work for me? Because a simple example. If you work during the day and the house is completely empty and you sleep during the night and therefore not use energy during the day potentially, is just solar panels the right thing? Because solar panels will generate the energy day because it's sunlight and push it straight out to the grid. you don't get to use much or any of that energy. So solar panels and a battery might be better for you as an individual. But we need data to make that decision. We need data on consumption behaviors of the individuals to allow the right recommendations and the right assets and the right technology to be used to support that scenario.
I think what's going to be the big shift over the next couple of years for me is the type of companies engaging with energy. So we talked about it earlier that it's not just for energy suppliers now, and that you and I spend most of our time talking to companies that are not energy suppliers and have never really touched the energy industry. So just to build on that a little bit, the creation of the other user role done years ago is really starting to show its value now and enable other marketplaces to start to come in and use energy as a way to engage with their customers. And just to build on that a little bit, I think it would be worth just laying out some future scenarios that I see. So I think one day, if I'm going to buy a house, for example, I should be able to scroll down if I'm going to buy or rent a house and see actually how much does it really cost to run that house. And I think what's powerful beyond that is, and what is the data recommending I could do with that house if I bought it? So how do I buy a house or rent a house knowing the cost it's going to realistically cost me to run it? But also what retrofit solutions could I do to that house? And if you can find a way, if brands, whether it's the property market, mortgage books, could find a way to engage with me and show me digitally how I could retrofit that house, the impact it will have to my energy bills, and actually the impact it could have on the value of the house as well. I think that's a great example of what digital energy is going to do over the coming years. And local authorities as well, as we know, have got a real significant challenge on their hands to retrofit the houses and buildings in their areas. And I think this is something we're working with one local authority already, is can they actually use an energy insights app and a platform to be able to engage at that level with the residents and the landlords in their areas, social housing as well. I think it is a completely untapped area at the moment, and something that we're really committed to exploring with all of those different markets. House builders as well. When a house builder, when they hand a building over to homeowners or to social landlords, how do they know that what they have marketed and said, that they're building them a set of really efficient houses? How do you know? Can you use digital energy beyond the build to engage with the new house owners to show that actually, yes, thank you, you have built me an efficient house, and equally as well, how do you improve on it? Where can you use that data to drive more changes?
I think that's the real crux of that. So I've been making some noise over the recent months, maybe a year. We see the smart meter ads on TV and social media around more accurate bills and things like that. I'm of the opinion that meter data has got very little to do with bills now. Meter data, yes, we've got smart meters, we can get more accurate bills. That's an internal industry thing, an efficiency thing inside the industry. The data is far more valuable than that. And as I say, if you're a social landlord, how do you understand the behavior of your housing stock? And not just the theoretical behavior of your housing stock, as EPC data provides, the sort of A to F rating for homes, but also how are they actually used? That's what the data within the meter explains. It's sort of, it indicates the efficiency of the home, the efficiency of the devices without people. And then when you add people, that's where it really comes, the smart meter data comes in. So yes, you can use the data to identify which parts of a social housing portfolio needs to be addressed. They need fabric improvements, they need process improvements, they need activities around that. But equally, and just as important, it's about education and human behavior. So, if an individual tenant switched the heating on a cold day and leaves all the windows open, that's not good behavior. That's going to cost a lot of money, and that's going to use a lot of energy. So it's a balance between actions from a physical perspective and actions from an educational and encouragement perspective. And both those actions can be determined through the data within the meter, but also the resolution. So whether those interventions worked can be determined through that data as well. So I'll give you an example of that. So the meter holds 13 months of data. So if you're an individual or a landlord, doesn't really matter. But if you're an individual looking to improve a property, you can look back at the performance of that property. So you don't have to have any monitoring or any systems in place over a period of time. You can just simply go to the meter, get the data out of the meter with the occupant's consent. I keep adding that. Get the data out of the meter, and you can look at the performance of the building historically. Then you can, maybe the next day or the next week or the next month, install insulation improvements, install heat pump improvement, educate the occupant on the things they're doing and the things they may not be doing on the use of energy. And then you can measure that going forward. So you have the old data and the new data. But you don't have to a limited degree, you don't have to plan 12 months in advance what you're going to do. You don't have to gather that data in advance of your action. You can gather that data because it's always in the meter. It's just there, 13 months. Get it when you can. Get it when you want to do something. And then you can make the change. Then you can measure the change. And if the change works, great. You can start replicating that into the other homes. If the change doesn't work, then you have immediate feedback. And you can optimize the change, modify the change, improve the change, improve your engagement, improve the assets you install. Maybe you identify things that you don't need to install. They didn't achieve what they wanted to. So you spend that money on something else, something more valuable that achieves better results. It all comes through the data. The data is fundamental to every single thing we have to do and we must do to reduce bills, to reduce carbon, to battle climate change.